Thank you so much, Professor Bletzinger. Great keynote. We're moving forward. Professor Bletzinger, your phone. Let me introduce you our next speaker, Jürgen Bradatsch. If we continue now this analogy with spinning around on the orbits, so probably you're still spinning on one of the orbits around Frei Otto. And Jürgen Bradatsch is a senior architect and technical director at SL Rush Company, which is very well known for a year-long close collaboration between Bradatsch and Frei Otto on lightweight construction. Jürgen Bradatsch was first, I think, attracted to Frei Otto and was working while being still architectural student at the University of Stuttgart. He worked as an intern and at Atelier Wambron. And also he made later the diploma project at the EL under the supervision of Frei Otto under the topic of the large-scale mobile membrane halls. So Mr. Bradatsch, you worked for a very long time on this collaboration between Frei Otto and Bradatsch, and that profoundly shaped you as a specialist in lightweight construction. So the stage is yours, please.
Yes. Hallo, hört ihr mich? Ja, manchmal tut's. Okay. Thanks to the ILEK team for the invitation to present the symposium in honor of Frei Otto. I'm really grateful, as mentioned, and consider myself fortunate to have experienced Frei Otto as a teacher and mentor. So? Ah, ne, das mache ich nicht. Das muss Aber danke. Tatsächlich, das stimmt. Es ist besser, wenn es von weiter unten kommt. Okay, and from this perspective, I would like to share with you some thoughts on Frei Otto's outstanding personality as innovator, inspirator, and humanist. And then I will show some projects where we had a close collaboration. Simplicity at its best. It's the simplicity that Leonardo da Vinci described as highest level of perfection. Frei Otto found this simplicity for building by fundamentally rethinking construction, leaving traditional design behind. How could it come about? Already as teenager, Frei Otto loved to transcend familiar horizons as enthusiastic aviator, to see and understand this wonderful world from a sublime perspective in a larger context. He became German gliding champion, and later as pilot during the Second World War, he approached the sound barrier with best aircrafts available at the time. I'm quite sure that Leonardo, brother in spirit, who like Frei, found the way to his art by intensive and inspired study of nature, have admired and envied him for. At the end of this war, Frei Otto then saw bombed out burning cities from above, the full destructive extent of this terrible crime against humanity. He left the heaven of his passion and decided to contribute his talents to the reanimation of a devastated world. He felt that after this inferno he had seen, something completely new had to be created, and he did not hesitate to take on this task wholeheartedly. This four-point sail at the Federal Garden Show in Kassel presented the archetype of a minimalist natural tension structure, marking the start for an unprecedented new lightweight architecture. Incidentally, the sail is only a few months older than me. 1957, the entrance arch at the Federal Garden Show in Cologne. 700 square meter covered area up to 34 meter span and a construction weight of above ground of less than 4 kilograms. This is extremely light and thus is in fact a clearest answer to the great lack of resources in those scarce times. Minimal use of materials and minimal effort for assembly is achieved through maximum use of intelligence and knowledge, as Frei Otto always provided without any reservations. I wish today's discussion about sustainability would seek similar serious approaches for technical solutions in such simplicity. But beyond technical masterpiece and familiar images, I would like to remind you that a building of such elegance is based on Frei Otto's vision of using new lightweight construction methods to create an entrance that welcomes all arrivals with open arms, then amazes visitors passing through with its never-seen exhilarating lightness to carry on with an open mind for a new era. Ultimately, it took his courage to venture into the unknown, turn this vision into a reality. This end, Frei Otto developed a completely new scientific design approach based on models that follow natural laws, and he could therefore fully trust, just as he once trusted the physics and mechanics of air and aircraft when performing risky flight maneuvers. With success comes new challenges, and the risk of which are best eliminated by building and testing prototype structures, as this was done to guarantee the groundbreaking success of the Expo Pavilion in Montreal, for which Frei Otto achieved worldwide recognition for his innovative scientific method. The meeting in this well-preserved and furnished prototype gives us today, in this moment, the privilege of experiencing firsthand the architectural impact of the new spatial worlds conceived and brought to life by Frei Otto. Nonlinear, saddle-shaped building skin follows the physics of one minimal tension equilibrium, and each section of it that you see in a glance is thus always an indispensable part of the unique whole. A self-evident, natural formed space that does not belong to any designer arbitrariness, does not follow any style, does not belong to any particular culture. A lively, stimulating atmosphere of such space creates an open, pleasant environment for people of all different backgrounds to meet freely without any reservation. It's an open space in which we can set ourselves up with all our needs and purposes. I wish we would have more of this kind of spaces to spend more of our daily lives, this environment. Montreal's success enabled Munich to get enriched in 1972 with a roof for the world. A roof that isn't really a roof at all, but a transparent sky in lightweight construction that seemingly without effort gathers natural formed landscape and people from all over the world for joyful Olympic Games. Frei Otto's visionary spirit, his daring, his inquiring mind, his scientific approach, and his uncompromising commitment for objective best solutions have given us, first post-war generations, something completely new, something never seen before. And while the contemporary classic-shaped castle sail had long since been dismantled, I was turning an adventurous 17 years old, and so was naturally drawn to this new cosmopolitan atmosphere. The mid-70s, I and friends left the dusty narrow-mindedness of our small hometowns to spend wonderful weekends in Munich's parks with like-minded young people. This direct encounter with the magnificent lightweight construction worlds of Frei Otto then strengthened my youthful conviction that it is obviously possible to build a more beautiful, livable world than the one I grew up. And this ultimately motivated me to study architecture. However, neither the curriculum at the University of Stuttgart nor the discussions of the then trendy postmodernism, we had one Beitrag here, could offer me any orientation or perspective. My actual studies began when I experienced one of Frei Otto's magnificent lectures, Natural Construction. I heard sentences like, forms of material objects are created through formative processes. Objects of living nature are natural constructions and are created as a result of self-forming processes, somehow known but never recognized in such clarity. Frei Otto's outstanding presentations made the phenomena of nature immediately recognizable, quite literally wonderful. And even better, he can stimulate self-forming processes to generate minimal forms for our buildings. Learning from nature, not by just copying their visible forms, but apply the processes that nature uses to build forms, like soap film, creating minimal tension equilibrium shapes, or gravity, creating minimal shapes for compression-resistant structures. As designers, we define the boundary conditions in which such processes generate most suitable forms for our purpose in a natural way. Such design approach brings us closer to creation and allows us to build consistently with nature. I was thrilled. Frei Otto's lecture was a ray of hope, opened a perspective I was determined to follow. So I gathered all my courage, called Frei Otto at his studio in Wormbronn, and expressed my wish to learn and work with him. I was overjoyed that he offered to introduce me personally soon after. At this first meeting, I was very relieved not to encounter a pretentious star of the lightweight construction, but an open-hearted, approachable Frei Otto, who was curious and interested in me, and openly offered, there are currently no paid design contracts, but my catalog of tasks on fundamental design issues is inexhaustible, and your cooperation is welcome. Of course, I didn't hesitate for a second, and soon after found myself faced with the task of creating a self-forming model for a node that could represent natural foam structures. My very first attempt right. Time is too short now to go further in these experiences. In 1985, after I finished my diploma with Frei Otto on large mobile membrane halls, he introduced me to Bradatsch, who was asking support for designing shading structures. This was the start of a lasting, fruitful collaboration, the build-up of SL Rush, then together as Architekturbüro Rush and Bradatsch for a decade, back to SL Rush during a reconstruction of the companies. Our developments of convertible shading structure were based on Frei Otto's earlier projects, were always guided by his friendly advice. 1992, SL Rush's first major umbrella project for the courtyards of the Great Mosque in Medina. Innovative lightweight architecture that blends seamlessly into and enhances the surroundings of the mosque. With heart-pounding, I presented Frei Otto at the time with the ornamental formation of gussets at membrane suspension points, which go beyond the technically minimal. He quite aristocratically accepted this measure with a smile and deemed it appropriate in this particular traditional context. These umbrellas, by the way, have been in daily use for 33 years now, without any notable incidents. During day, their membranes reflect about 70% of the solar radiation, At sunset, they are folded to open the courtyard areas for radiating large amounts of heat to the cold night sky and to cool down for the next day. With regular operation, the perceived temperatures under the umbrellas are lower than the ambient air temperatures even in summer, aided by the radiation from the cool flooring. In 1996, Frei was invited to complement the German contribution to the Venice Architecture Biennale under the motto, "Change without growth," a theme tailor-made for him. For it was one of his great concerns not only to build minimal, but also mobile and adaptable to impact nature as least as possible. Himself, he said, "Lightweight mobile building are my dreams, and I dream that adaptable environments will also enable the formation of an open society." Desire that is reflected in the mobile installation of our solar-powered 5-meter umbrellas, charming touch of lightness that guides the visitors and breaks the oppressive appearance of the German pavilion with its monstrous overdue architecture. And at the same time, our mobile Starwife tent serving as a sheltered venue at the Giardini della Biennale. 1997, from tensile to natural compression resistant forms. Together with Frei, we developed the design and obtained the building permit for the insulated roof of the brine bath in Bad Sulza, Thuringia. Now, another theme. Frei for a long time hesitated to trust the computer model of numerical soap film shapes. With the EU-founded research project ILEK, we demonstrated, supported by Eberhard Haug, based on his software Lisa, that our numerical form-finding method combined with numerically controlled manufacturing actually produces minimal shaped membrane structures that were measured and proved to be as designed. Pursuing this detailed research project enabled Frei to approach and to trust this method. And I think I say nothing wrong. I felt that this was the very rare moment that we were able to help him broaden his perspective. Conceived by Frei as a prototype for a mobile, sustainable, lightweight construction for all year use, we realized those 2 pointed round tents, 24 meter each, that successfully serve as retail and event spaces in Leonberg since 24 years. This is the actual picture. Minimal use of materials and resources, minimal impact on the environment, no sealing of property areas, use of renewable materials wherever possible. It's mast and all the facade structure is all in timber. Then a fast and easy erection and dismantling, and a structural concept that is short-circuiting internal forces, minimizing and distributing support reactions. Such technically and aesthetically advanced mobile lightweight structures offer flexibility for urban planning. They can be used for the utilization of urban brownfield sites, which can be found in all our cities. This would help to reduce the far too excessive sealing and development of open spaces. As this is a limited resource, we must protect it by all means. But not only urban brownfields, sites should be developed for enhanced public use. Like here, the Schlossplatz, most valuable square in the center of Stuttgart, with historical built surroundings, is attractive to the local population for summer events. Unfortunately, 1 or 2 of these are in the water. Since we cannot plan the weather, we proposed together with Frei installing a convertible shelter for the Schlossplatz already some 20 years ago. 4 to 8 large umbrellas sunk into ground, get extended, opened as needed to protect people from sun and rain. Since our proposal has not been implemented, still relevant and deserves to be reminded. The realization of this project would be a spectacular and trend-setting measure that has not been seen. Lightweight architecture that elegantly provides weather protection in the public open urban space without impairing it with permanent structures. Realization of this project would be a great gain for Stuttgart and would certainly attract international interest and recognition. And furthermore, it would be a tribute to Frei Otto, who helped this city to achieve fame in lightweight construction. Back to Medina. Once natural oasis, a promise for safety, comfort, and freedom for the far-traveled pilgrim. But till the beginning of last century, palm gardens were pushed out of the city by uncontrolled urban development. Today, it's the changeability and lightness of translucent membrane structures that create an atmosphere, once again, to express the genius locus in the heart of the city. Alleyways lined with umbrellas, magnificent but never monumental, lightweight architecture that doesn't demand respect from people, but rather grants them dignity. Lightweight architecture that creates protected public space, as this did not exist in the harsh climate of the Arab cities before. Public space for people of all ages, gender, ethnic and cultural backgrounds to meet and to get to know each other, which is requisite for peaceful coexistence. Probably the greatest social engineering and construction task of this century. I'll show you now a short video.
Die Medina-Schirme gehören mit zur schönsten Leichtarchitektur, die ich überhaupt je gesehen habe.
Asked about his personal wishes, Otto said, "I wish that the products of human technology, such as houses, bridges, canals, roads, railways, airports, appear in the smallest possible number and mass, and are so efficient and aesthetic that they become an inseparable part of nature and enrich the living space for all living beings. Wishes should fly high, but how to at least get closer to such a noble goal? Our last conservation, a few days before his death only, once again Frei Otto emphatically reminded, we experts can no longer occupy topics and rigidly adhere to them, but must think and act freely together with other disciplines and across all boundaries. This sense, true to Frei Otto's inexhaustibly rich intellectual property and heritage. Yep. Thanks.